Hey folks, welcome back. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to set up a recurve bow. This is Angie's bow, this is mine, it's a Sage Takedown. You can tell it's a Takedown because it has these thumb screws here that you can take the limbs off. Angie's has the same thing. I have string silencers on mine, she doesn't have hers yet, so I'll have to set up another video to show you how to put those on. But we want to deer hunt this year, we want to go a little bit more traditional. The arrows that you're going to use for these, I use carbon arrows. A lot of people use wooden arrows, but I make sure that I have the real turkey feathers on here. It just works much better with traditional archery than it does with a plastic fletching. So let me show you how to set up her recurve bow here, so that way if you have a recurve or you'd like to shoot traditional, then you'll know how to do it. So let's get to it. Okay, so this is the riser of the bow. I'm not sure if any of you know about bows or not, but this is the riser. This is your handle. You're going to grab it, and then your rest is right here. And you'll be using this traditional hair rest kit to make a rest on here. So when your arrow slides across this, it's not sliding across this aluminum riser. Mine has a wooden riser, but I still use a hair rest and stuff like that. So this is your riser. These are your limbs. Now, I'm not sure what brand hers is. She got it on eBay a few years ago. We tried to look it up. I won't go back that far. So we don't know what brand it is, but you could see here, it tells you a lower limb at a 40-pound draw weight. So when you're holding your riser in your hand, if you were going to shoot this bow, you're going to put your lower limb obviously on the bottom. But the nice thing about this is it has this little pin right here in the limb pocket, and there's a little recessed hole there in the limb, so you can't mess up. You can't put it up too high, you can't put it up too low. Then you just take your thumb screw and screw it in here. Now it's important, don't use pliers for this. You tightening it down with your hand should be tight enough. And then you put the top limb on. Same thing with your thumb screw. If you use pliers for these, there's a good possibility that you could crack this limb. It doesn't have to be super crazy. These are made to where that limb's not going to come off. It's nice and secure. So now you've put the limbs on your recurve bow here. As you notice, you'll see the limbs are actually facing the wrong way. So what you're going to need to do is buy a Takedown recurve. It'll come with a string. You're going to have to pick up a Nock Set for yourself. You're going to have to pick up some Nock Pliers. Sometimes they sell it in a set. You'll need a bow square, so that way you can figure out your brace height and where your position of your nock will go. I have a little bit of super glue here, a little single-use super glue, a pair of scissors to cut your hair rest, and inside here I have a couple pieces of plastic in the nocks. I'll show you what that's used for whenever we get further into this. So you're going to want to take your string out of the bag. Make sure it's the correct string. This is a 58-inch string, a 16 strand. And they'll usually send you the right string for your bow. Now there's different strings you can buy made out of different stuff, depending on how in-depth you want to get with your traditional archery setup. So you take your string out and you'll notice it has two little loops on each end. One is bigger than the other. You'll see that right there. One's bigger than the other. And then you'll have some serving, or string is what it is. It's actually wrapped around your string right here. It's about 5-6 inches of serving on here. So you take your bow and lay it out. Take your bow and lay it out, and if you could see where you're going to put your string. Now this serving needs to be in line with this rest right here. So if you flip this around, here's the serving. Actually, let me show you. If you have it on your bow, see your serving is here. So that looks like it's in line with that. Now if you flip this string around, you'll see that the serving is now down here where the handle's at. It's nowhere near the rest. So a quick look at this to make sure that you're putting the string on there right the first time. Just lay it out and look at it. And then what we're going to do is you'll take one of your small loop, and you'll put it on the bottom and face it towards the back of the bow, And as you see, you cannot put that on there. So let me show you a quick way on how to string this bow, so you don't need a bow press or you don't need any other fancy equipment. You can just do this yourself. So you make sure that your string is on the bottom of that bow, and then you step through where the string would go with your left foot if you're right-handed. Now, I'm right-handed, it would be opposite if you're left. And then you bring that other loop, and you're pulling this bow towards you like this so that you can put the string on here. Now, I know a lot of people that'll put the big loop down here and they'll just slide it up to that. It's all a matter of preference and how you like to do it. But the big thing here is these limbs come with notches here where your string goes, and it comes with a groove. You want to make sure that every time you're adjusting this bow or put it together, that all this is in line. It's very important. Then you look at this side here, you see how it's a little bit off, and you move it just a little so that way you can get it in line with everything. Okay, so now on to our bow square. Now this has metric on one side, standard on the other. You know, this is America, so we're gonna use a standard version. There's two little clips right there that you can see will clip onto your string. So you clip it onto your string in these little grooves. Don't push it in too far, don't push it out too far. You just want it in there, and it just kind of come right down here on your rest. It's not very important on where this is at right now, but the biggest thing you're trying to do is you're trying to make your brace height. Now your brace height I take from my inside grip here to the string. Now we want it to be 7.5 inches. Right now it's reading, about 6 inches. So we need to add 1.5 inches to this string, to this brace height, to widen this gap, because that will give you the best play, I guess you could say. It'll be more forgiving when you're shooting it if you're not exactly right on. So for beginner traditional archery, this is perfect little video here for you. So you take your bow square off. Now you need to unstring your bow. It's the same thing. You're going to step through it with your left foot, through the string, put it just below your knee here. Not sure if you can see, there we go. Put the other limb right below your knee. You're going to pull your bow to you and then unstring it. Just be careful when you're doing this. You're not scraping on the ground, that you have plenty of clearance, you're not doing it by anybody. Now, what we want to do is we want to shorten this string up. So, I'm going to set this on my foot here. What you're going to do is you're going to twist this string. I go clockwise. Now, you could count your rotations to see how much you need. It's 1 rotation, 2 rotations, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I went 12 because I've already set this bow up a couple times. I'm just doing this for video's sake to show you. The string was almost where it needed to be, but every time you take it down, you need to know how many twists that you have in this. So once again, stepping through, bringing the bow to you, putting your string on your end of your limb, stepping out carefully. Once again, make sure that you get that in that pocket. It's very important when it comes down to shooting these bows. So you got your string lined up again. And one more quick test here with our bow square. And right now we're at about 6 3/4. So we're gonna go another 12 turns on this. So once again, stepping through the bow, just below your knee with the end of your limb, giving it just enough tension to where you can take the string off. I'm resting it on my foot again. Now I'm going to go another dozen turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, let's string it back up and see where we're at. It's pretty simple once you get the gist of it. And like I said, once again, make sure you're adjusting that. You want to make sure that this is sitting right where it's supposed to be every time you take a measurement, because you want to be precise, because once you get to that 7.5, you don't have to take the string off anymore. So we'll put our bowstring on here one more time. Let's check out what we got here. And right now we're at about, it looks to be about 7 1/4. Now we're taking it from the inside of the grip here to the string. So we want to probably put about another 6 turns on this string. So we'll step through the bow once again. remove the string, and then I'm going to go around another 6 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm straightening my loop out here. Restring this bow. And once you get this down, it's pretty simple. It's not a huge deal. You're basically just using your leg as a fulcrum. So again, make sure everything's straight here. And then we're going to throw our bow square back on it. And right now, we are at our 7.5 inch brace height here. That's what you're looking for, 7.5 inches from the string to here. Now that we have it strung, and we have our 7.5 inch brace height there, so now what we need to do is we need to add our traditional rest. So it comes with a side skid plate, which is usually a soft foam, something like that, and then hair. You know, they sell different rests. I like the traditional hair rest. I think that this is mohair or something like that, whatever they call it. Sometimes they sell it in beaver fur and stuff like that. So what you're looking to do here is you want this to lay across your rest. Now they'll come bigger than you actually need. So what you'll do is you'll take and figure out where the back of your hair rest here sits, and then you can see it sticks out a little bit here in the front. So that's why I grab my scissors. So I just find where this goes in the front here. I give it a little tiny nip there just to hold it, and then flip it over, and then all you have to do is just cut your hair rest back. Okay, I get all the loose hairs off of it. Just helps out because you're going to need to use a little bit of super glue, and there's an adhesive side on the back of this. So now you can double check here, make sure that your hair rest fits perfectly on your rest for on your brace, and that's really all you need. I like to go one step further because I want my arrow to sit as high as possible on that. So I have a couple pieces of plastic here, just like a little plastic straw or whatever. So what you're going to want to do with this is you're going to want to find the highest point here on your rest, and you're going to want to put this little piece of plastic on there. This is where the super glue comes in. So, boy, it must be a motorcycle day. Okay, so you take your super glue here and you take your little piece of plastic, and you don't need much. You know, I'll just apply a couple dabs of this super glue off of my workstation here, and then you are going to want to find the highest point on your rest here. If I can get this without it sticking to my fingers, and then that's it. You're going to let that dry for a couple minutes, and as that's drying, you know, you can get your other piece ready, because you're actually going to set this other one in the same exact spot. You're making a little capital letter L there on that. So now that that's a little dry, so we will come here and I will just dab this on the bow itself, so I make sure that I'm in line with that. It helps keep the super glue off your fingers. So now all you have to do is place your little piece of plastic. Some people use toothpicks. I've seen people use surgical tubing for this. I prefer something a little more solid and a little bit bigger than a toothpick. It's probably like 2 toothpicks thickness. That's why I went with this plastic. And then once that gets dried on there, you'll be able to work with it. So what we want to do is we want to take our backing off of our hair rest here, which sometimes can be finicky, but you're really trying to keep all the stickiness that you can on there, so you don't have to add any more super glue to it. That's why I always take and, you know, hit this thing, get all those fibers off of there from whenever you cut it. And then you have to get in there to get that backing off of there, which sometimes can be challenging. But once you get it, you pull your backing off, and then you just have to lay your rest, your hair rest right here. And I will take and I will push my hair rest down and push it all the way up to the back of that little piece of plastic that I put there. And then I'll do the front. So now you see it makes a little bump there, and that's what your arrow is actually going to rest on. So that stuff's super sticky, and once you get it down, it's stuck. So make sure you get it in the place that you want, or you'll be replacing it. And then you take your side skirt here, your strike plate, I guess it's called, some people call it. And then you're peeling the backing off of that, and then you want to put it right down next to your rest. And then you're going to do the same thing with this. See how I didn't stick the back yet? You're sticking the front down as close as you can get it to that rest, or to that little piece of plastic, I'm sorry. And then you're going to press it in there, and the same thing, super sticky. Make sure it's in the right spot the first time, or you'll be redoing it. So now you have your rest that's on your bow. So whenever you knock up an arrow, you can see how that rests on that little piece of plastic underneath there. And that'll give you exactly what you need for your rest for this traditional bow. So now that we have our rest set up, we have our skid plate on the side set up. And sometimes you'll get where your skid plate will be a little bit hanging over if you have some kind of decorative stuff in your bow. Little air pockets, it's not a huge deal. You could take a little razor blade and just cut this little bit off right here. You could just take your razor blade and cut that off. It's not a big deal if it's hanging over, but it will get stuff on it, and it'll get moisture in it and stuff like that, depending on how you're shooting, when you're shooting. And then that's it. Now we're gonna go back with our bow square, because now we want to put a knock point on this. And as you can see, our serving is in line with our rest. So you take your bow square, clip it back on there. Now what you want to do is you want to slide this bow square down just enough to where it's touching that little piece of plastic. You don't want it above, and you don't want to press it down. You see how that tilted on me? You don't want to press it down too far. You just want it to where, and it's a very delicate thing. And you see I'm still down too far, because your bow square should come off of that hair rest like that. So I'm still down a little too far. Small moves means a lot. It's just a little tiny movement. Still got it down a little too far. Okay, there we go. You see how that just slides right across there. Okay, so once you have your bow square on there, right where you need to put your knock setup, there's little numbers here on your knock setup. There's actually two places where they give you to preset your knock. Some of these newer bow squares, once you get it set up, they'll put your knock right here and it'll be just fine. Now fine tuning will come into your play a little bit later on, but for right now we're going to take and we're going to set up our knock point here. So I am going to set this up on my automatic knock point that they give me, and I'm not sure, I'll try to hold this on here so that you can see, but it is just on that little shape they give you. It's a little square with a hole in it. That's your knock point. Now I'm going to adjust this to be precise here, and then I'm going to squeeze it on with my knock pliers. You can see the knock pliers, they don't close all the way, but that's exactly what you need to crimp that on there. So let me get this set up here in just the correct spot. Using our knock pliers, coming here, and then you can crimp it a little bit on there and then make sure that you've got it in the right spot to where you could still move it. Like I want to move this down just a little bit, so just wiggle it just a hair to get it down just to where you need it, just like that. Knock pliers once again, and then you'll crimp your knock on. We're done with this bow square now. And now you want to make sure that you are closing your nock on there right where you need it to go. Okay, so since we have our nock point here, I want to put another nock just below it, just big enough so that when we knock an arrow up here, oop, I'm gonna have to take this off. So what I want to do is I want to put another nock down here, just a little bit lower. But like I said, you have to leave a small gap in there because your arrow is going to tilt, so you don't want it to pinch your arrow. We don't need the arrow on there for that. We don't need the bow square on there for that. So I'm just going to set this up to put another nock point on here, just so that way you'll never have to worry about whether it needs to be on top or on bottom. Then, with your nock pliers, you're just going to squeeze that on there. One more time, just to get it right where you need it. And then that's it. Now you have a good nock point. Okay, so now all you need to do is now you can knock up your arrow here. And you can see there that there's just enough room for that arrow to tilt in there without being inhibited or pinched. Whenever you draw it back, it's not going to tilt too much and pinch on here. You want to leave enough room in there to where you can have an arrow in between it but not have it to pinch. And then all you have to do, knock your arrow, step back, and shoot. So follow me. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. If you guys want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments below. I'll leave the link in the description of everything that we used here today. I don't know about her bow, but I can leave you a description of some good recurve bows. And hopefully we'll see you in the woods, or hopefully not. But enjoy your time out in the woods. If you're going to shoot traditional, take your time. It takes practice. You have to shoot 1,000,000 arrows. So we'll see you later, and thanks for watching.